Hello and welcome, it's Chris from Christopher Holt Training. Welcome to this week's tutorial where we're talking about the secret to better stretching. We're going to cover 2 points. The first one is breathing. There's a lot of talk about breathing, when and how to do it and things like that, but we're going to go into a little bit more detail and talk to you about how breathing can help your stretching that much more. Then we're going to talk about point number 2, which is explore your tightness. A lot of people think a stretch is a stretch and we can't deviate and change position and things like that. But what we're going to do is we're going to go into a little bit more depth on the different positions that you can go into in certain stretches, and then hopefully that'll give you some ideas about what you can do with your stretching to be able to get more from it. But before we get into that, I just quickly want to mention, as always, my social media. So you can come to either Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. You will probably be on one of them already as you're watching this video, but please do like and subscribe. Please do comment on the video below. It'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on the content, your feedback on the content, any questions that you might have, anything you learned, or anything that you found interesting. Alternatively, if you follow the link in the description, which is this one here, you will go straight through to my How to Correct Lordosis 12-week program, where you can enroll in the program and you can find out more about exercise and stretch program that progresses naturally that you can do to help correct your lordosis. So, coming back to what we're talking about today, which is the secret to better stretching. Secret number 1, as I mentioned, is breathing. Now, what you can see on the screen is me in a position called 90-90 breathing. So essentially what I'm doing is 90 degrees and 90 degrees. So you got 90 degrees here, 90 degrees here, roughly. And what I'm doing is I've got my fist on my stomach, and all I'm basically doing is this is just a very simple technique to start training yourself to be able to breathe from the abdomen, which is this area here. There are 2 areas of breathing. You've got the abdomen and you've got the chest. Chest breathing is associated with fight or flight and stress, and that tightens joints, muscles, tissues, cells, whatever it might be. And then you've got the abdomen, which helps relax muscles, tissues, cells, so on and so forth. So number 1, we want to start focusing our breathing from the abdomen. So as you can see, I've got my fist on my stomach here. Now all I'm looking for with regards to my breathing is when I breathe in. So when I breathe in, my abdomen should go up. And when I breathe out, my abdomen should start to go down. So basically what's happening is my fist, as I breathe, will go up and down. So that's sort of the part number 1 to it with regards to what we want to be doing breathing. With regards to the next step on from that is point number 2 here, which is a long out breath. Now it's the long out breath that if you've been on a massage couch, or if you've had any chiropractors work on you or osteopaths work on you, what you'll find is they'll say breathe out, and then they'll do their adjustment, or then they'll push a little bit harder in the massage, or then they'll push you a little bit further into a stretch, or whatever it might be, because it's the out breath that encourages the muscle relaxation. So not only have you got the abdomen or abdominal breathing, which is starting to relax you, but it's then the longer out breath is when you get the maximum, let's just say, relaxation. So when you go into a stretch, you might hold the stretch for say 15 seconds, be breathing through your abdominals, and then on the 15th second, you breathe out, and then you go a little bit further into the stretch. So your body gets used to it in the first 15 seconds. You do a long out breath, and then you go a little bit further into the stretch. And you can continue that cycle upon cycle. So you may do 2 or 3 cycles of that, and then you change the sides. So with regards to breathing, not only have we got to breathe from the abdominals, which is here, just using this technique to help train that, and then we want to be focusing on a long out breath, which will then further relax the the tissues, the muscles, and all the cells around that tight area of the body. So that's secret number 1. Next is secret number 2. And it's explore your tightness. Now, what that basically means is change position and find your tightness. As I mentioned in the introduction, a lot of people, if, for example, this is a stretch for my hip flexors, which are muscles that go from here up to here. So what you might find, you may see an image like this on the internet and you think, right, I need to go into this position to be able to stretch my hip flexors. But you might go into this position and not quite feel the stretch. So there's certain things that you can do. So you might bring your knee further forward, which will encourage your hip to come further forward. You could also take this knee out to the side, and that might stretch through the adductors a little bit more. Or it could go sort of across the hip a little bit more. What you could also do is you could be upright in this position, or you could bring your hands and put them on the floor here and here, and then your body is over, you push your hips further forward, and you find more of a stretch there. So with any stretch, the idea is to go and explore it, change the position of knees. I could bring this foot wider. I could put this foot is just outside the line of this knee here. So if I was to draw a couple of lines back, you would see it's just outside the line. But I could take that foot further out to the side and it would encourage more of a stretch through my hips. So all the time I'm thinking about what can I do with my body to be able to find a little bit of an extra stretch. Another thing that people do is when they go into this position, they may be rounded. So you've got a normal curve here, but you're a little bit rounded over at the upper back. Now, a simple way to remedy that, which will get an extra stretch through your abdomen, would be to bring your hand up over your head. You could bend your arm like you're going into a tricep stretch. You could have your arm going up and then down your back. And all that's doing, that's encouraging this sort of mid to upper part of the back to lengthen and be a little bit taller, which is going to stretch this area here. So with with this one stretch, you've got all of these options to begin changing your position to go and find that tightness. And then when you find the tightness is then the time to start the breathing, to start the abdominal breathing, and then focusing on those long out breaths and then trying to push into that stretch that little bit further. So hopefully that gives you just an idea or a bit of inspiration or a little taste of some things that you can start doing with any of your stretches. I've just chosen one example here and I've given you 3 or 4 different options to be able to explore that stretch and try and find more ways of stretching this area of the body. You can do this at the shoulders, at the ankles, wherever it needs to be. So think about the stretches that you're doing, start changing position and see if you can find any more tightness, and then start including abdominal breathing and that long out breath. So my name is Chris from Christopher Hole Training. Thank you for watching. I will speak to you in the next tutorial.